Hey, hello, welcome, Chris. I am so excited to have you here again. Okay, if you are tuning in, if you haven't listened to my other interview with Chris James, go check that out on my YouTube channel. And in that particular interview, she talks about how her Welcome Nurture email sequence that we first co-created together led to leads booking calls with her and landed in clients. And I believe it was around $30,000 worth of revenue just from that welcome sequence. So check that out on my YouTube channel in that interview. And then also, before we get into this interview part, which I'm so excited for Chris to tell is her experience working with me in the Epic Orchid recurring VIP. This is a quarterly done for you email sequence that we worked together last year in. And so before we get into that, if you're interested in working with me to increase your email engagement, get more clients booking calls with you through open worthy emails without FOMO, without promising magic pills, no pushy copy, no AI group speak here. Just go to the comments and you can book a call with me there. So let's get into the interview. Chris, could you take a moment to briefly introduce yourself? I mean, I feel like you don't even need an introduction because you're just like the one and only Chris James, program creation specialist. But if you would like, you can do a little intro for yourself, please.
Yeah, so thank you again, Joanne. I love being here in this capacity with you as well. So my name is Chris M. James. I am a program creation specialist, and that's just a fancy way that says I take what's in your brain from your successes, your strategy, your frameworks, and then we build a membership or a one-on-one program in a second business. So it's essentially your coaching program. And what we do is we create everything from you for you from idea, website, copy, all the way to launching your product. And we build out the platform as well. And so we're very passionate about that. I love education from experience. I feel like that's the biggest way to close gaps. And yes.
Yes. Definitely go and check out Chris M. James. Her website is beautiful, and you can find out more about her there as well. So, I have a few questions for you just to give some context for other women entrepreneurs who are running a business and running their teams to see what it's like to work in the Epic Orchid recurring VIP. So I know as a busy entrepreneur, you're running a team, you're working with clients on various levels of your offer suite, and I know your time is tight. So I wonder if you could speak to the process of the quarterly VIP. Like, what do you like? I'm curious to know, what do you like most about that process?
All of it. So if the whole process from when you put in, so I know you use a project management tool, Asana, and in Asana you can actually schedule. You give a basically a checklist instead of me trying to figure out what is it that you need from me. It's very clear. You've already scheduled our meetings together, and so I appreciate that as well. It's not like one more thing I have to do. Like that's done for you as well. And then when we actually get on the strategy call, you ask really powerful questions. And like there's things that you didn't even think about or consider, and it just comes out. So I enjoy that process the most. And the turnaround time, like it's phenomenal. So it's all done. It's like I'm working on other tasks, but also behind the scenes, you're working on creating these beautiful connecting stories, not just information, but like insight. And it's connecting, it's conversation that the client's having in their head based on the stories I've shared and based on the research you've done to make everything align. And so I appreciate that the most.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up about the Asana project just keeps everything together. We also do schedule all the quarterly calls in one go, so there is no back and forth. You don't have to think about, oh, I need to schedule another call with Joanne to do the next sequence. Like it's all done, and you can just take it off your plate because I know you have so many awesome and amazing things going on in your business, and putting another thing about scheduling is not one of them that we need to put onto there. So thank you for mentioning that piece of it. Okay,
Can,
so oh,
can I
sorry.
mention one other thing?
Yeah,
Also, what I really like too is that after we did the strategy call, the initial strategy call, it made me even think about my business in the year aspect, things that I didn't even consider, like what projects we had going on internally. And you were able to help map out the whole year and align in color code what we need to send out. And so I'm very appreciative of that as well, because that is something we never implemented on the back end on like, hey, we're sending these sequences out. This is what we're looking for. Even when to open my schedule to start taking on booking, those one-on-one calls to like make the schedule a little bit lighter. It wasn't that. It was just like, hey, we're just keeping the routine. But how you laid it out for the whole year, that was extremely, extremely helpful as well. Just to consider the things that are going to be happening, where some pivots are going to happen. So I wanted to add
yeah,
that part. That was
yeah.
important.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up because, yeah, part of the Epic Orchid package is that we first get on a strategy call and we map out your full year for your email marketing. And that is color coded on calendar, and it aligns with when you want to launch certain programs or packages or offers. And also, you can see then how the different email sequences align with each other throughout the year, and when to launch them, when to make them live, and then how your email newsletters can also fit into there. Because I like to recommend having the email sequences and then also having the timely email newsletters to help with the connection and building trust, and priming your audience and nurturing them in email. So that is a part of the Epic Orchid, that you get that full plan so you can see, and you can also share it with your team to show them like, okay, this is what we're doing quarter 1, this is where we're going. And it's kind of like a North Star in a sense. Okay, so you kind of talked about a little bit of already about our strategy sessions, because for each recurring VIP that happens quarterly, um, besides like you get your strategic email sequence that weaves in your stories, weaves in your unique voice, and gets your ideal clients engaged and clicking to book a call. I know you've mentioned already like how helpful the live strategy calls are. And so a big piece of that, I'm wondering if you can just share a little bit more on like what you came away with from the quarterly like live strategy sessions that we had, because it is I'm collecting stories, I'm collecting the information, I'm collecting your assets that I need for the sequence. So then there's not a lot of back and forth, or at all. I get everything that I need, and then you can go do your thing, and I can focus on your project. But even within that strategy session, you have mentioned like the things that you came away with during them. So I'm wondering if you could speak on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I talk about the strategy session and then what happens in that week too?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, awesome. So with the strategy session, how you position the questions, you'll ask in more detail. You don't just, what I really like is that you lean into curiosity. I do too. So it makes it the conversation and the strategy call very, very helpful. So in a strategy call, when you're asking questions, it's even making me brainstorm some solutions. You're like, hey, do you have this asset that addresses this pain point that we can add into this email? Yeah, and I'm like, oh yeah, we already created that. Or no, that's actually on my to-do list to create it. And so that's like super helpful. And then the whole process from the strategy call, because I'm like thinking of personal stories, it's not just business. So sometimes I've, even in my mindset, I've shifted to like, I look at everything as business. Like my baby went to Chuck E. Cheese birthday party, and I was like, oh, Chuck E. Cheese has a subscription. They have a membership model now. So I'm like, oh my gosh, they've I'm like, oh, this is smart. I'm like, yeah, okay, they got packages. And so I'm like thinking business, business, business. And then this allows me to pull out personal stories and how to align those. So that gets me excited when you are like giving it back. And then it makes me think of other ideas as well. And so it leads me into that week when you're actually creating the content. I don't have to rely on myself to do it. Like you're really taking my voice, my tone, things I'm excited about. You really take the time to learn, about me and the business and my goals and who do I want to help, and you really have that come through the email. When I see the email, when it's the revision process, again, all within a beautiful week, you're very realistic about like, hey, you have to put this time on your schedule to do the revision, because there's times I've missed that because I didn't schedule. And so when now it's like I schedule, I'm looking forward to it. When I look at the revision process, there's like 10 different ideas that come in from one email. And you've already did a beautiful sequence, but there's like 10 things. And I'm like, oh, note to self. This is a blog post. This is a social media post. And so it's like really having that foundation of the copy to actually still, because you already captured my message and what I wanted to share and leading them to a result, but it also spins off and is multi-purpose. Like it's everywhere. I can use it in a YouTube script. I can use it in a blog. I can use it in another email, because there's another key takeaway that I thought of. I'm looking at the email. I'm like, oh, I would like to like create something like this, further down the line. You're like, oh yes, you can repurpose your emails. And so it makes the creation process a lot better. And I don't have to spend time at a blank screen to like just looking at that cursor kind of blink, look at me and say, hey, what are you going to say? No, I actually could take from what was from the email and repurpose it. And it makes that process so much more smoother. And I'll even say from this other sequence, I've already developed like 6 other LinkedIn posts, and so they'll be getting posted out, but this made it a lot easier than me just trying to do it on my own.
Yes. Okay. I love how you talk about the live strategy session and how that brings about more ideas for you. You get inspired, you're thinking your stories. I love the Chuck E. Cheese. That is totally how my brain thinks. And I love it when my clients start thinking that way, just like in just their regular life, like what's going on, and saying, oh, I can connect that with one of my content pillars or one of my content topics. So that live strategy piece, like being able to get ideas from there. But then also, I love what you said about the revision process too, because in the Epic Orchid, for each of the done for you email sequences, there is within that week where we get the sequence done, one round of revision. Generally, there's not much tweaking that needs to happen in that, but I love how I know in the Google Doc you put comments and notes, and you say this isn't for you to like tweak anything. This is just a note to myself, and I get to see all the other ideas that um come out of that email content for your, as you said, like blog posts. I know for you, you want to lean into the YouTube marketing. So, being able to create video scripts from the emails, like I love it when you can take a piece of content and you can stretch it out in so many ways. Like, yeah, creating 6 LinkedIn posts from an email, being able to use it for as a video script, helping you inspire you to get another idea for like, oh, I can talk about this in my blog post. And so
Yes.
I feel like we're just on the same wavelength, because that was my next question. I know you have such an amazing combination of like creativity and strategy and thinking about how you can repurpose your content. And so that was my question. You've already answered it. Was, how you can use the email sequence to create more ideas and repurpose the content so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Because I know definitely for women entrepreneurs who are running their business, running their team, working with clients, they the the marketing content piece, if we can take that off their plates, and then not only that through email sequences, but then be able to repurpose that for their social media, or having that idea of like, oh, I just read that email and I could turn that into a quick reel or a YouTube short, something like that. And it's just helping to inspire more content that aligns with your offers, that aligns with your business goals. So is there anything else you would like to add about that?
I do. So sometimes, depending on what capacity, so a lot of the women I work with, they had a first, like they've already had like success in their first business structure, and so now they're coaching others. And so what I've noticed, and I do this with myself, I get so focused and excited about working on the project, and I don't give my business always the attention it needs. It's like really like focus, like we're meeting this deadline, we're sending this out for the client. Oh, this client had these type of wins. And so when I went through the revision process, it actually, and it's a beautiful thing, it actually like keeps me accountable to focus on my business, on how better ways to share exactly what I do. So like I'm appreciative of that, like being scheduled uh, on my calendar. And so when I look at it, it's making me say, oh, this will actually be helpful. And then it reminds me of another story about a client. Maybe something happened during that week. And so it just allows me to collect it. And you always get like you share the copy. So it doesn't just go away after that's done. So I can always go back and visit and then like redo it. And so it just makes me refocus back on my business, on the things that moves my business forward. Because the projects move the client's business forward, but the email content moves my business forward when I repurpose it, when I take the time to repurpose it. So I definitely want to put emphasis on that. Like it's the repurposing, but it's also like the accountability of you refocusing on your business and your messaging and what's important. And it reminds you of like, why do you love what you do? You know, so I'm appreciative of that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for bringing that up. I hadn't thought of it that way before, but yeah, that accountability piece, especially as busy entrepreneurs, and you have such a passion for your clients and bringing your best for them, and then remembering that, oh, I have a business to run as
Right.
well. And
Mm-hmm.
so being able to like in the Epic Orchid, because it's a quarterly recurring email sequence package, that it's also holding you accountable to focus on your business and bring that value to potential ideal clients through the quarterly strategy session we have and then through the content that we create. I love that. Okay. Well, we are going to wrap up for now. Um, but we will definitely be back. So, as you know, if you are listening in and you are curious to know more about this process, let us know in the comments if you have any questions. As I said, we had done a VIP when we had first met a couple, 2 or 3 years ago, and got really great success from that welcome nurture
It's
email.
4 years now, I think. Yeah. We're 2025. I'm looking at things. I think it's like 4 years, but go ahead.
That I feel like that happens to me all the time. I told my husband, I said, whatever number I say, like, oh, was that 2 years ago? The rule is double it times two. If I say it's 2 years ago, it was 4 years ago. If I say, oh, that was 5 years ago, that was 10 years ago. So
No, I understand. Yes.
okay, 4 years ago. So we're very excited to share with you like the data and the results that we get from these email sequences. Just to be transparent, we haven't put the email sequences live yet, but that also is an opportunity for us to come back on and share with you the data and results from that when we get that piece of it. And so again, go to the other interview with Chris on where she talked about the welcome nurture sequence we co-created together, and get an idea and sense of how we did that. And I think that is all. So if you, again, you can book a call with me in the comment section. Go check out Chris M. James and her website. She is absolutely amazing and brilliant, creative, and I absolutely love working with her. And that is all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.